There we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another exciting episode of the Vash Sky ParkCast. My name is Vash Sky. I'm going to be your host of today's ceremonies today, and boy, oh boy, has this been a very interesting couple of days, at least for me. It's been extremely busy right there. I know my producer is side-eyeing me right now, like, hey, wait a minute, I've messaged you all these things. I must say I have been unbelievably busy trying to get, the most amazing show that we possibly can provided to you, and so some of my communication has taken a hit a little bit. So, MJ's not just the only one right there. There have been a lot of people that have been trying to get a hold of me, and I've just been struggling, folks. I do very much apologize. But enough of that right here. You're in to talk about theme parks. Actually, if you are a subscriber of the channel, you just got a little bit of a taste of what we are going to be talking about today, at least in part, when it comes to the Comcast deal. We had Jonas J. Campbell actually come on. We produced our very first video with him. That was a very, very cool thing. If you guys haven't seen it yet, we talk about the Comcast, spin-off of NBC Universal and all that that implicates right there. And, we take a little high-level view of it. We certainly focus in on Comcast right here. I want to go ahead and focus in actually on the theme park side of it a little bit more here today and what the implication ultimately could actually be from all of that. I think I haven't done a great job in breaking down in previous coverage just how this might affect the theme park operation. So I want to go ahead and just provide my thoughts a little bit on that. But we're going to be talking about also, too, Pirates of the Caribbean, that face projection update right there that everybody's been talking about, at least when it comes to Disneyland. it certainly has been an interesting time in terms of news on that front right there. I want to go ahead and break down, the comments from Kim Irvine, for example, and what she actually said about the attraction, how this updated story right here kind of breaks what Kim tried to do back in 2018 when it came to the most recent PC update for Pirates of the Caribbean. That's going to be a lot of fun right there. Also, too, we had a fire recently at a Walt Disney World resort. It seemed like last week, that resort operation just couldn't, it just had a lot of problems. And it had a lot of issues. But a fire broke out actually on Thursday while we were live. That's no good. We'll talk about that a little bit right there. Animal Kingdom Lodge also having its issues. I know that Park Place covered it a little bit, but I want to go ahead and cover it as well because, hey, why not right there? Also, too, we do have a little bit more discussion when it comes to Walt Disney World bus transportation right there. I think that's very, very interesting. Also, with that, I think there was a Jurassic World attraction in your favorite theme park that was actually hit by lightning recently. That's not good either. Disneyland, Twilight tickets, a whole lot more. We've got so much stuff in this show. I cannot wait to get on into it. And to help me with this and more is my amazing producer extraordinaire, MJ, who's sitting in the back currently right now. MJ, come on in. I'm going to have you help me out with the assemblage of different ways that people are supporting our channel today. Please go ahead and bring them up on screen right now.
Let's get it started. We have Just a Duchy, a member for 3 months. Thank you so much, Just a Duchy. To all who comes to this happy place, welcome.
Oh, I love that. That is fantastic. I love that, Just Touchy. Thank you so much for coming on in here and welcoming everybody. And obviously, you have welcomed so many with so many people actually getting a membership because of your efforts right there. Thank you so much for everything you do.
And we have Juliet with the £2 Evening, Vash Sky ParkCast, Skyliners, and Sky Watchers.
Thank you so much for that, Juliet. Some stuff. Okay, please, MJ.
No, I was saying thank you to Juliet, but please, this is your show, Vash. Go for it.
I will say, Juliet, absolutely tremendous right there. Yeah, Sky Watchers is for sure. Skyliners, everybody who is in here, awesome stuff. But if you are a Sky Watcher, we want to go ahead and say thank you to all of you, and we appreciate all of you for either becoming members or gifting a membership, being gifted a membership, and actually maintaining your membership. Thank you so much. It really does help us out tremendously, and hopefully you guys like the Vash and Vixen shows every single Saturday. We seem to be getting so many people in there, and people really do love that program, so thank you for that as well.
Excelente. We have Freedom Seeker gifted 1 Vash Sky ParkCast membership. And let's see if we can pull up the lucky winner, Jackie Delaney E9F. Congratulations. And you're going to love having that membership and all the perks that come with it. Just like Vash said just now, the Vash and Vixen show on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Absolutely, and emojis and everything else right there. Which, by the way, if you are a member, you got early access to that video that we actually produced this morning. Now, it wasn't tremendous early access. I think it was like 7 minutes there. So sorry, guys. I was working on that thing for so long, and I just lost track of time. And well, you got 7 minutes early right there, but we'll get better at that. Obviously, we'll have. I want to. Ideally have like days where you get special access to a video before it actually goes live. I think that'd be really, really cool right there. But yes, you will absolutely adore your Sky Watcher membership right there. Also, too, get you some emojis as Freedom Seeker is flexing right now.
Oh, yes, the flex is much, much, much required. Absolutely show off your emojis. We have TJ Magnifi, member for 3 months. 3 months, Vash Power, let the riffs fly.
Absolutely, let the riffs fly, indeed. I don't know if you noticed, Tom, but when we were, saying goodbye to everybody on the video that we produced this morning right here, your outro is in there. And it's just the outro. I was originally going to do a voiceover or something that, that is traditionally done, but I just love that music so much, Tom. I just let it play. So tremendous that you've been such a great supporter in doing that. And if folks don't know, the intro music that you hear, that's all Tom F right there.
And we have The Real Ventures, member for 3 months. Can't stay long, but wishing you a great show today. Thank you so much, Real Ventures. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much for that. By the way, a lot of 3-monthers. That is super cool, MJ. Come on. 3 months on this whole thing. That's a big time thing right there.
Amaze.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we have a special fan, One Magical Girl Pro for $1.99. I'm not sure how I feel about that avatar, but have a magically filled day. And I promise you, it's not me. I can guarantee that. Maybe a long lost relative, but it's definitely not me.
I know for a fact, MJ, it is not you. So I can attest to that. And I love the magical girl thing. That's absolutely fantastic. It's obviously has its origins a little bit in anime, and I don't know how it necessarily originated on the Pro Network, but it's become a thing. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. It's giving Sailor Moon vibes, which I really like Sailor Moon. So yeah, good job. Good job, Irene Specialist. We know it's you.
There you go.
We got some really cool
right.
people in this community, but here we have, to help the show, welcome to the stage, the one, the only, Capture the Magic.
What's up?
Yes. Love that. Hello there, Jared. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. We had the live stream last night. I just got to recording our, which I didn't know until this morning. My wife told me we've been doing our podcast for 9 years, so I feel very old. But yeah, so it's going well. I got it recording there, coming on here, so I'm already all warmed up. I'm like a batter that I've had batting practice for a bit here, so I'm all ready to go.
That's cool. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jared, for joining us. I know Wednesdays are a little bit busy for you. They're a little bit busy for me, too, but I really do appreciate you and the dedication and the support that you provide for the channel. Awesome stuff.
Absolutely. It's actually much better now. I like, for a multitude of reasons, theme parking on Tuesdays actually works much better for just my schedule anyways. So definitely frees up a little bit more. So it definitely works out. So yeah, I saw OG and Storybook Sorceress in there. What's up, guys? In my hat. I do like this hat. I found that this was a back ordered hat. It took me a while to get, and I enjoy it. So it kind of looks like a Miller Lite version of America, I suppose.
I love that. That is perfect right there. Well, hey, you know what? I'd love to have you on, and you can wear any hat you so choose. How about that?
Yeah,
right there. There's a lot of stories, though, Jared. There's a lot of stories. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this one, at least to some extent. I know we broke it down on Theme Park last night. No, we broke it down, Jonas and myself, this morning on this channel right here. But I really want to kind of get into the theme park implications of this, because I think a lot of people, when they see the story, it's kind of like, why do I care? It's like, well, you should. Comcast is split again as NBC Universal breaks away. Just months after Versant's spinoff, this by Marvin Montanaro on That Park Place, Comcast is once again tearing itself apart, Lisa, with another corporate split. Just months after spinning off much of its traditional cable television business into the newly formed Versant Media, Comcast announced Monday that it plans to split itself into two separate publicly traded companies, separating NBC Universal and Sky from its core cable, broadband, wireless, and technology businesses. The move represents another dramatic reversal for a company that spent years building one of the largest vertically integrated media empires in the world, sort of like Disney, actually. Under the proposed transaction, Comcast will spin off NBC Universal and Sky into a standalone media and entertainment company, while the remaining Comcast will focus on connectivity, broadband, wireless, and business services. Existing Comcast shareholders will own stock in both companies once the separation is completed, with which Comcast is targeting for mid-2027. So we have the telecommunication side of the business splitting off officially from the NBC Universal side of the business, right? And it's kind of like, okay, well, what does that necessarily matter? Well, the big thing that I want to go ahead and illustrate to everybody in this segment right here is how influential Comcast has actually been for the parks as a whole. I don't know, Jared, if you remember quite what the history was with Universal Parks before Comcast got involved. Sure, yeah, they were second fiddle to Disney and basically a notch above the rest, but there were some dark times there for sure. Yep. I remember like E.T., for example, back in the day. E.T., at least at Universal Studios Hollywood, was actually replaced by The Mummy, which That was a questionable move, especially because, well, unlike Confrontation over there at Universal Studios Florida, E.T. was not nearly as big a show building. So it's kind of like, wow, you put a roller coaster in a building meant for a dark ride. How'd that go? As well as you could possibly expect right there. And there were a lot more questionable decisions actually made when before Comcast actually owned them. Now everything starts to change in two big ways. One, obviously, we've talked about it before, but with the world of Harry Potter actually coming online in 2010, that was a big change. And around that time, that's when Comcast really got involved. And they saw those financial figures of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and they said, boy, we want some of that right there. Like, these theme parks can be extremely profitable, and they were. They really put on they really ramped up the money fire hose, so to speak, in order to fund all sorts of projects and actually buy back interests in Islands of Adventure, for example, that had been separated for a period of time, and so much more. But now, with that money fire hose as provided by Brian Roberts, for example, who was actually kind of a fan of the theme parks and certainly a fan of getting into it with Disney. If anybody remembers the Disney Wars era right there, there are some fallout connected to that whole situation right there. Jared, I think it's hard to underscore just how beneficial Comcast has been for the Universal Parks. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. Before Comcast, it was multiple owners, very unsure footing on various things. In fact, the Epic Universe area where they built that park, they previously owned that land. They had to sell it due to financial issues that they later had to buy back at a premium. So Comcast has been great for them in terms of giving them plenty of funding, an actual, a foundation that they can operate from. In this move, I see this. I'm kind of split here because before last night when we talked about this, I really hadn't seen many other people's reactions to this. I don't know what to necessarily make of it. I think part of me, I am biased. I want the parks to still, I love the direction Universal's going. I can see the case where you look at this and say, hey, it's time to split this off and let it be its own big boy, because I think there are legitimate things like for Comcast, the parks and the studios are kind of a line item for them. And you talk about, if you listen to these earnings calls, these investors, for the most part, don't really care about the park. They're asking about broadband and all this other stuff that Comcast makes most of their money from. And so you can sit there and say, okay, they split this off, and now this new company is going to be really dependent upon the parks and entertainment and streaming and everything like that. And it could set them up potentially more flexibility, potentially easier way to get funding and things like that. But like you guys brought up last night, I could see the angle too, where somebody could come in and want to buy this up because it's easier to now that it's been split off a little bit. So I kind of think my gut thing on this is it seems odd to me with all this momentum, and you would just now be at the point where you really start benefiting from these parks because you just had $1 billion quarter, first time ever last quarter. Selling it now seems short-sighted if that was your goal here. To me, this seems more maybe something's going to happen with Comcast because that stock has not been doing great. I think it's been down 30% the past year or so. I feel like there's something that may happen with Comcast, and by spinning these things off, it allows it's easier to do something there. But who knows? I mean, we've seen stuff when we look at Warner Brothers and what happened there. So who really knows here? But I can see both sides of it. And I suppose time is just going to tell what the actual intention of this really is.
Yeah, time's certainly going to tell what the intention is for this, because according to Brian Roberts and Mike Kavanaugh, the intention is not to M&A, not to merge or acquire or anything like that, or be acquired. No. Jared, come on. That's not at all part of our plans. There's no possible way that is part of the equation right here.
Never lie. They always tell you the truth. So, I mean,
especially on earnings calls.
Right. They're always very, very forthcoming. They take an oath before they do it. There's perjury involved, all sorts of things.
Nah, it's all sorts of things right there. And as soon as somebody actually, cites me a case recently of an executive actually saying something on an earnings call, or filing with the SEC incorrectly right there and being taken to court or prosecuted for that, please let me know. I don't think there's enough of that going around, but. Sam Levy, Brian Roberts, and Michael Kavanaugh saying, very, very clear multiple times, okay, this is not about being acquired or acquiring anything. This is not about a merger of any type, But Jared, come on. There's no way in this era of consolidation in which scale is king right now, and everybody's trying to be the next biggest thing in order to provide for their streaming services or whatever else that they're trying to do in this very turbulent market right here, where there's so much competition and there's so many eyeballs everywhere. I just cannot believe for the life of me that Comcast isn't looking at Charter, isn't looking at Spectrum and saying, hey, let's go ahead and play nice with each other for a while. Or, NBC Universal. We just saw the bidding war, the crazy bidding war that took place for Warner Brothers Discovery and all of that. And 3 companies ultimately involved in that being Paramount Skydance, obviously, which it looks like they are going to win that bid. But UK regulators, they might have something to say about that. We'll see how that actually turns out. Also, too, you have Netflix that was in the mix right there, and Comcast was one of them, although that didn't actually happen. But you remember, Jared, actually, Brian Roberts going over to the Middle East for a period of time, right? A little bit.
I do recall that. Yeah.
A lot of people thought that, or is he trying to get some money from the Saudis there in order to facilitate a deal for Warner Brothers Discovery himself? Apparently, that didn't actually shape out, but I gotta think, Jared, that somebody's gonna buy these things, or somebody's going to want to merge here, right?
I feel like I do feel like it's either something happens merging with Comcast or something does happen with NBC Universal. To me, just from the outside looking into this, it seems to me that the future, and they've even alluded to it, the future is the theme parks, the studios, the streaming. Like, that's the stuff that you can make a really good case for is going to continue to grow. And I think for a lot of reasons, theme parks will continue to grow in popularity with AI and all this technology. I think people do want real life experiences, things you go and see and feel and do, and escaping the matrix in many, many ways, if you will. If it was to consolidate, if it was more or less to protect Comcast, I feel like you're essentially you're trying to protect a dinosaur it's going to fall off either way. I mean, unless there is something that changes in the landscape of entertainment, you're just going to continue to see this iceberg melt. And so I do think a merger or something with, say, a Charter or somebody else makes a ton of sense, because you consolidate, you save expenses, you still pull as much money as you can, what's left out of that type of business as it continues to just dwindle. I feel like that is what I would be looking at this as, personally. I guess the caveat there is Comcast is kind of a family company with Brian Roberts. So, like, where do the loyalties lie? Is maybe the thinking there is like, does he really view the parks as their thing? Or is it more as something they acquired and they kind of treat it kind of like a step kid sort of thing? You know what I mean? I guess that's the question of how they're viewing this. Well,
I mean, I know I can tell you right now that Brian Roberts is actually a big fan of the parks, and he's a big fan of spending money at the parks. So he's not adverse to that in any way. So the stepchild thing, I don't think necessarily applies to Brian, but obviously this is a major company corporation. I know it's a family company, but you got a lot of executives right there that might not feel that, hey, look, listen, doesn't necessarily make sense. Do theme parks fit into our portfolio right here, especially in this transitioning time? I can definitely hear the argument as to why, okay, let's go ahead and split these things off right here. Now, apparently, Brian Roberts is going to be heavily involved in both companies, and I believe 19% of NBC Universal will be retained by Comcast. That's a very interesting point that I want to go ahead and make clear here. Mike Cavanaugh, maybe not, doesn't have the most robust history managing a property like this, but apparently, according to Matt Bellany from Puck, he's saying that he has a history of transactions. So again, that's one notch in this whole thesis or theory that this is ultimately a move for NBC Universal to be acquired by somebody else right there. Now, I look at the landscape and how that looks. Like Comcast, I can't necessarily speak to the telecommunication side of the business as well as Jonas, right? And that's why I had Jonas on, because he was the guy that actually knew all about that whole thing. But I know a thing about the theme park side. I know a thing about the studio side. To you, Jared, I mean, of the players that are out there, and I'm including tech companies in this as well, who might want to go ahead and acquire something like NBC Universal for their own ends?
Well, I mean, the first one to come to mind, everyone would probably point to Netflix, considering they just lost out on Warner Brothers. There's always the rumors about Apple. And even Bob Iger alluded to those rumors of Apple looking at buying Disney, Amazon. Like, there's a lot of companies with a lot of cash. I mean, Apple could buy it just with the cash they have. Just like, how much do you need? Just pull it out of their back pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Would that get past regulator? Like, there are some regulation questions there. And really, when you're looking at, it's one thing to buy a studio. It's another thing to buy a theme park destination. That comes with a lot of cost. You got to really understand those things. So I've always felt that the theme parks, even if somebody wanted to say buy a Disney, even when it was struggling, what do you like? People, are you going to get yourself involved in theme parks? Because that just takes a completely different mindset to do. So it's not that it's impossible to do. We've seen Netflix kind of toy around with their Netflix houses and things like that. I think those could all be a player in this. My thinking has always just been, if the goal of this was to sell it, I feel like there's easier ways to go about it than the way they're doing this. But again, we've seen with Warner Brothers and finally ending up with Paramount, unless something it gets blocked there, of paying the penalty fee for Netflix and Warner Brothers. Like, they were throwing money around like crazy. So if somebody really wanted these properties enough, there's probably money out there to do it, I suppose. So even if this isn't their intention, it may be difficult if someone says, hey, here's $150 billion for these properties. I'm not saying that's what it would go for. I'm just saying it would probably be really hard to say no to that potentially. But I don't know. I don't know if an Amazon wants to get involved in theme parks. And it doesn't mean that if they did, it may be bad for the theme park, because Comcast didn't really know anything about theme parks when they acquired all this stuff either. And that's turned out great. Mm-hmm. So I love the direction Universal's going. If it did sell, it doesn't mean that it's dead, but it does bring a lot of questions. And even really with Universal's momentum, this move right here has a lot of people being like, what does this mean? And it kind of has sort of, maybe not the normie mass crowd, but I think if you're watching into theme parks, you're just like, this is a little uncertainty here about what does this mean? What is the intention behind it? And what are the details, like we talked about, like, are the expansions still going to happen? Capital wise, like, does this change any of that? I reached out to a few people and asked them. They said that they're still going through with all the stuff they're doing. So at least yet, they haven't said anything internally that would make people think that there might be some pause in some of this stuff.
Because this transaction here is going to take place over the next year or so, right? I would imagine that anything that is in the stage in which it's being constructed or permits might be filed. I think Wizard was saying that yesterday on Theme Park and right there. I do agree with that assessment. I think those things go forward. I fully agree with that. I don't think those things get held up. Now, when you do look at a bigger project like, let's say, the Universal United Kingdom Resort, I go, that's a lot of billions that you're going to need in order to facilitate a project of that scale. And Comcast not being there, I don't know, because you got to think, right, that the telecommunications side of the business was so lucrative for at least the parks themselves. Because, man, I think in the last quarter, and they pulled in the company combined, I think $30 billion worth of revenue right there, and I think $7 billion in EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, which is their kind of profit metric. So you had a lot of billions to siphon from in order to apply towards these projects. Now, when you look at like the parks themselves and how much they were contributing just by themselves, I think it's like what, 500 million in adjusted EBITDA, which is kind of like, you're going to need a little bit more in order to facilitate projects like, for example, Hagrid's Magical Creature Market Adventure, right? I know it's a mouthful, but that attraction I think was like 300 million on its own. Mm-hmm. And Epic Universe 8 billion or so by itself right there. Like there's some big numbers being applied to these theme park projects. I just don't know, Jared, if they can stand alone. So I think it's inevitable that somebody actually picked them up, and then you had to wonder if somebody does, like you just said right now, are they necessarily going to be interested in running the theme park operation, or do they get spun off again? Because that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I wonder if the 20% or almost 20% stake of Comcast is a way to, I don't know enough to know if that means that they're able to sort of be like, because they're part owners of the company, if they're able to, leverage financing that way during this interim period. Because one thing about this setup, if it goes all the way through, they're supposed to run independently for, I think, at least 2 years is the way that's supposed to run. And you could make an argument. You look at all the investments they've made in the theme parks the past decade of, $8 billion for Epic and all these other things, multiple billions of dollars here that they've invested. There could be a really good argument that they were already planning on maybe chilling out a little bit after, say, Pokemon is done and some of these other things that they're currently building, that they weren't planning on a major capital expenditure during that time anyways. So it could coincide with that. And then once the company is established enough on its own, and ideally in their eyes, the revenues would continue to grow, that then they would be set up for, because the potential of having easier access to capital is there once they're established. But I suppose it is this interim period of, how does this shake out? Because that's a legitimate concern there. But I don't know how much the Comcast stake in that, if that is to prevent something like that happening, or to give them flexibility, or give them some, I guess, structure or support during that interim period when they're kind of like out on their own. I guess that is the unknown that I'm curious about. But I mean, I can see the case for both. I mean, honestly, and even if the intention wasn't to spin this off to sell it, it could end up being something, because now these media companies just want to buy up more stuff. And I think Netflix is in the position of, how many more subs can you really get here? And they're going to start expanding their business model to increase revenues, because it's not like there's an untapped market of people that just don't have streaming. For the most part, people that have streaming already have it. So you might have hit kind of a ceiling on how many subscribers you can get here. And then that's why they were trying to get into Warner Brothers and do other things like that. So all these companies want to grow. And if it was me and I'm looking at what Universal's done in their parks, and you're willing to take on that risk of running theme parks, I mean, I think you would be hedging a pretty good bet that this would pay off into the future. One would assume Comcast would know that as well, but I guess we just don't know the inner workings on what their actual intention is here.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem when actually getting into the story right here, is because it's like, okay, what is the ultimate intention that you have? Is it to, be acquired? Is it to, benefit from a sale, from a transaction? Now, the sales or potential mergers, if in fact somebody doesn't swoop in right now, which might be the play that, hey, we're going to go ahead and start spinning off these divisions right here, with the hope that somebody else might buy us in a very similar fashion that David Zaslav was able to do when it came to the Warner Brothers Discovery thing. That could absolutely be the case, because if you wait and have that spin-off transaction actually take place right there, you're looking at 2 to 3 years before things can really shift in the marketplace, and before mergers and acquisitions can actually happen. And you got to think, right, if you're merging with somebody like Comcast or even NBC Universal, that's going to take a considerable time for that to take place. And so you got to look at it. It might not be 4 years until NBC Universal finds a home with somebody. That's kind of the timelines that we're working on. I want to go ahead and put this up as well, Jared, because I think this is very interesting right here. Old content dominates viewing time on almost every major streaming platform. This coming out of Boardwalk Times. 95% of viewing hours on Disney Plus are for catalog content, and 5% is for originals. As you see right here, this is the chart.
That doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest.
No, it does not surprise me in the least, because it's like the original promise that Disney Plus offered its potential subscribers. Do you remember this back in November of 2019, right, when the service went live? It's like, this is going to be the home for all of the favorite Disney content that we've built over a catalog of almost 100 years at that point, right? It's like, yeah, everything's going to be at the press of a button for you. And it's like, there is so much in the catalog and in the vault, let's say, that hasn't made its way to streaming. And, well, I don't know what the strategy is here, Jared, when it comes to that, because you know how much they spend on content, or at least how much they spent on content trying to get this thing established back in the day?
Oh, I know. I think the total's into the hundreds of billions, isn't it?
Hundreds of billions of dollars to try and get Disney Plus to work with originals in a very similar fashion as you see Netflix on this chart as well right here. It's like, okay, we need big time, big money spending to get people on board this system, when Jared, the content that everybody wanted, you already made 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. What are you doing? Trying to spend hundreds of billions of dollars siphoning off of the parks to do it, by the way. Awful strategy right here. But you can see the only person or the only streamer that has actually figured this out in terms of the value that it brings with it when it comes to its original content is Netflix. Maybe, Jared, it's a big IP play for Netflix. Maybe it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and acquire NBC Universal, and the NBC, like, or maybe not NBC Sports, because that actually does have some value, but maybe some of the broadcast television stuff and all of that, we don't necessarily want that. We want the IP, we want Illumination, we want DreamWorks, we want all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And do the parks necessarily fit within that fabric? What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this, it's like it makes sense. If you look at the things they're spinning off, you could view as like that is going to be the future. So you spin that off into its own thing, but at the same time, that is the package of things that people would want from Comcast, which they don't. Yeah, I agree. They wouldn't want the linear stuff or anything like that. They would want the Illuminations and all those properties and everything that they got there. Even Peacock isn't a huge streamer, but they do incorporate sports into it. So you got the sports stuff there. I guess that would be the question. I mean, I guess there is a possibility that they would sit there and say that they would like those properties, but not the theme parks. And maybe they work out some sort of deal where they're still able to use those IPs into the Universal parks or something. I guess that is possible. Anything's possible if you got enough money, I suppose. But yeah, I mean,
and that gets complicated, more complicated real fast, right?
Very, very complicated really quickly. But I suppose if you're Netflix and you just want those IPs and you're just like, I don't want to deal with like running these parks. It becomes almost a licensing deal for Universal to do that. That's a setup that I guess possibly is out there. But I mean, that chart is wild because that is such an incrimination of modern Hollywood in terms of in the 90s. It was like you had banger after banger and like I even with as bad as Star Wars has been, I really figured it would have had a higher than 5% with that. And that just shows you like there's really no excuse you should have Star Wars and Marvel and all these properties with this streaming stuff, and that most people are just watching all the old stuff. I mean, that's crazy.
That's wild.
It is actually insane. It doesn't shock me though. But I think Netflix obviously figured something out there, and they're really the only one that's making. It's kind of hit or miss with Netflix. Some stuff they do is really good, and they're really quick to pull stuff too. But if I'm Netflix, it makes sense. I mean, they are currently. I think I don't know if they've entered negotiation that they're trying to get Lionsgate right now, which. Makes sense that they didn't get Warner Brothers to try and get something else. But yeah, with especially like Minions is coming out. My family is going to see Minions here in like 30 minutes. They're going to the movie. That's probably going to do very well. So they do have lucrative properties IP wise that another studio would want. It just the only thing that makes it really like an iffy thing is the theme parks.
Yeah, we actually have a little bit more information on the Lionsgate thing because there's another company eyeballing it right now, and well, it's one you're going to enjoy, Jared. I assure you on that front right there. But you're right. The open question I think is the theme parks. Now, look, I mean I've seen a lot of earnings calls with Disney, and Josh D'Amaro recently said it himself, right? He's like, everybody, the media landscape's in a rush to acquire what we already have, right? They're looking for additional consolidation. They're looking for all these verticals and stuff, and that's what he's saying. He's like, hey, we're already the number one. We're the king. We're the empire, and you have so many people looking to basically duplicate what we've already done. Now, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, a little bit oversimplification from Josh D'Amaro, but you can definitely see his reasoning right there. And in those earnings calls, they have said, well, one of the advantages we have over Netflix is that we have this amazing consumer products division in which we can actually sell retail directly to the consumer for any one of our properties. For example, Jared, I mean, look. K-pop Demon Hunters was a tremendous success, right? But when it comes to profiting off of that meaningfully, Netflix didn't really have a way to do that, right? And I know there's a deal with Sony there. I get it. I get all that. But they just weren't able to capitalize on that fervor in a similar way that maybe Disney was with Frozen, right? Because they have so many outlets from which to, distribute all that content out. Netflix could look at NBC Universal and say, hey, you know what? Disney says they got one up on us because of their theme parks and their consumer products. Well, NBC Universal, guess what? They have a lot of that. Maybe they have stuff we don't want. Go ahead, you can stick with Versant right there. But
Right.
everything else, right? That could really be the play right there. And if it is the case that that does happen, maybe Netflix shells out even more money than, say, Comcast was able to with their $100 billion debt load. Is that a possibility, Jared?
Oh, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, that, and the Comcast debt load is definitely a part of this equation, undoubtedly. When you look at that and the fact that they have that much debt and what they've still been able to do in the parks is kind of, I don't know if anybody would have expected that much debt. And like I said, like if Netflix were to do this, I wouldn't necessarily be, blackpilling about the parks, because they could have a lot of ideas and bring a different approach to this stuff and really invest into it. I would be curious, though, if you included the parks, I mean, what would they be willing to pay for this? Because that is a lot of infrastructure that you'd be acquiring. And what would the debt load, all that stuff? I would be very curious about that. It's definitely possible. Like essentially when I'm looking at this, all of these possibilities are definitely on the table. For me, a lot of it is just simply like, I would be baffled at why Comcast would be looking to rid themselves of what they've been building for the better part of a decade at this point. I think that is where I just go back to. I'm just like, it would be like, I know guys that have started businesses where it's like cash flow businesses, where their goal is to build it up to where it makes them $10,000, $20,000 a month or so. And it'd be like that guy's goal there. And then once he gets like $7,000 a month, and then he's like, okay, sell it and give me the equivalent of what it'd be for 24 months. It's like, well, you didn't even get to the point where you wanted to be. Why'd you sell it early? Unless you run into money issues, which I guess we don't know, if maybe there's bigger issues within Comcast that we don't realize. And they're kind of in a panic mode. That's the only thing I could see, because it just logically, to me, I don't know why you went through the past 10 years to just turn around and sell it to somebody to benefit from the growth that I think is going to be there in the coming years. It would be my own thing. But like you were saying, everything is on the table. I think you made some really good points.
I think everything's on the table. I don't know how it relates to other companies and corporations. I know Apple, right? They were kicking the tires maybe on doing something, maybe a merger or acquisition of Disney back in the day. I think Bob Iger has been pretty clear about that in his memoir and his history. Obviously, when Steve Jobs passes away, that's a little bit more complex, right, at that time. But, they did kick the tires on that. Maybe they kicked the tires on NBC Universal. That's a very interesting thing. By the way, Netflix already in the, let's say the, live... what should I say? The dimensional entertainment space, right? The amusement space. Do you know what form that takes, Jared?
Well, I mentioned they got those Netflix houses they've been doing.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
Netflix,
I think they've got
Netflix houses, right?
Yeah, 3 of those, right? Or something, at least 2. I know Dallas and I think Philadelphia at this point, and they plan for
yes.
more. Yeah.
Dallas and Philadelphia. They might have 3 actually, but I know those were the first 2 right there. You're exactly right. Sorry, I do apologize.
No,
not to discount your point right there. But if they are in that space already, maybe they look at those finances and they say, those look pretty good. Imagine what scale could look like, especially with an assortment of IP, not just our own, but maybe IP we acquire in this transaction.
It's definitely possible. I mean, I've made the case with Netflix that I actually think it would be great for the theme parks if another competitor did pop up. If you had somebody, not only just a Disney and Universal thing going on, but if you had, say, a Netflix decide that, we're going to they see the money. And I think it'd be hard to look at what Universal's done. And they've kind of shown, like, you can take away the market share here from Disney. There is money to be made here. Look at Disney's profit levels. And I'm not saying any company would get to that level, because Disney's it's just a different beast in the history with that company. But maybe Netflix wants to, and they could look at it and say, well, we could shortcut this and just buy existing parks that are already established and then do the stuff we want to do. Ideally, though, I would love to see a third company pop up that really pushes both of them. And I think that would be really good for the guest experience. But I mean, obviously, I think Netflix is wanting to expand undoubtedly. I suppose the Netflix houses are a different beast compared to running theme parks, but they're in a similar ballpark in terms of real life experiences. I don't know. I mean, I think Netflix is just going to be really aggressive. And so I wouldn't be shocked if they kick the tires around a little bit. I guess the question would just be, what is Comcast's posture with this? Did they come asking about it and they're just like, no, it's not the goal here? Or are they like, hey, let's have some conversations? I think that would get out if that started happening, maybe, and how quickly that might happen. But like you were saying, even if something were to be happening, it would probably take better half a decade for something to get approved on that level.
Right.
And that's that part during that time, if that happens, that there's a lot of ifs about it.
There's a ton of ifs, and I have a feeling that we might have just lived through the NBC Universal golden age when it comes to theme parks and entertainment and so forth. I think it has come at an unceremonious curtain call, so to speak, with what we're seeing here, and I hope that's not the case. I hope a lot of the investments do make their way to fruition, and I do hope that they keep on the gas. But I just, I'm looking at it, guys. I'm just looking at, if NBC Universal stays by itself, I just don't know where that capital comes from. That's just my initial worry. And so if you look at projects later on and you look at them and you go, not necessarily the quality level that we necessarily expect from Universal Parks, right? Or maybe we see some things get dropped. Don't be surprised if that happens with this parent company, Comcast, and its checkbook making for greener pasture somewhere else.
Well, I think if you started seeing stuff like that happening, that would kind of be an indicator of some stuff. I suppose if we get 6 months from this and we haven't seen any pullback on stuff, I don't know enough to know where the funding comes from or really how the mechanisms of something like this, and that's probably out of my depth a bit. But if they already have this stuff established, if they're seeing their numbers, and maybe we see the next quarter, maybe they had a really solid quarter, even building off the last quarter, they're seeing this trend and they're thinking this is going to be enough to write us with. And I don't know where they put that debt. There's some people that think maybe Comcast sticks a bunch of the debt with this NBC Universal spinoff. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, $100 billion.
It depends on how they allocate all that stuff. But I suppose if you're on the side or the bullish side of saying that this is not a spinoff to sell it, maybe the idea here is that they are seeing enough trajectory of where this is going that within a short period of time that these will be very sustainable. They did mention, by the way, in the last earnings call that Peacock was almost profitable, which I did find very interesting because it is definitely the weaker of all those streamers in terms of sub numbers. I think a lot of that is tied to sports. But if Peacock isn't a drain on the spinoff, it does set it up to be the chances of it being more successful to sustain itself. And I guess you could say with, you got Minions coming out right now. Illuminations is a solid studio there. I guess you got Shrek 5 coming out too, that we'll see how that does. Maybe there's some things there that they think are going to be enough to really propel it into where they want to take it or something. I'm biased, of course, because I like what Universal's doing. I want them to keep going in this trajectory. And I think a lot of the park fans, I know the OG's kind of in a similar spot. I think I can see it from both ends. Like I can see both sides of this. I just don't know. It's just me. It would be me guessing. I think the only thing I can go off of is unless they have, I guess, the behavior changes in terms of the parks and some of their rhetoric would be the thing to look out for. But yeah, I would have a lot of questions if that was the goal of this. And like, okay, what else is going on within Comcast to do this on something that is a growing portion of your business whenever the other side of your business is a depreciating side.
Right.
Interesting little dynamic there.
I really want to know what the annual CapEx spend from Comcast is for just its parks division. I think that'd be a really interesting number to find out if we had access to that, because that'll tell us a lot whether or not a lot of these investments are sustainable. If in fact NBC Universal sits alone right there. Also, to one more thing on the Netflix thing, which I think is particularly interesting. Sports, right? So NBC right now has a lot of big time contracts for like the NBA, for example, with the NFL currently and so forth. And that might be an attractive thing too for Netflix. Now, obviously streaming rights are different from broadcast rights, all that. I get all that. There's no question about that. But to already, make inroads in those big time sports right there, that might be an attractive opportunity for Netflix as well. So there's some stuff there. I think there's definitely some smoke there, but And until we get a response from one of these big corporations or companies or tech companies or whatever, we're just going to be, in the fog until we see flame.
That's a good way to put it. It is kind of foggy. Yeah, you're just sort of like, maybe you can see the outline of a lighthouse, but you're just like, I don't know what this means. And it's a good point. Netflix is getting much more involved in sports. I mean, I think they had a couple of football games last year, NFL, at least one. I think it was Thanksgiving that they had. And they had the Gina Carano fight. So that makes sense for them. I suppose it just does the theme park side. Would that make sense for them?
Does the theme park side? We gotta know, Jared. We gotta know. I want to know what's actually going on right here. I know we're very concerned about this as well. Yes, the train has come into the station, and there has been so much tremendous support. MJ, I'm glad you brought yourself on right here because we have got to get to it right now. MJ, please go ahead and highlight the people who have been so supportive.
I couldn't help myself. I saw the Hogwarts Express and I thought, what better way to bring up these beautiful super chats and comments without the train horn? Here we have Just a Duchy for £6 The 9K is hit. Party sign, party emoji, I should say. Who thinks the 10K mark will be reached by the end of this summer? Ooh, it's a cool kid summer, but it's a cool Vash Sky ParkCast.
That's right there. No, it's absolutely extraordinary. Just the level of support you guys have had for the channel right here. Thank you so much for having us hit these, what I would initially have thought would be insurmountable goals. Now we're on the precipice of actually reaching those. So thank you so much for that. Very much appreciate you. Yes, we are, Jared, over 9,000, which is pretty cool.
Honestly, this rate, you'll hit 10. I know you'll undersell it. I think you'll hit 10 easily by September, I would say.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I second that for sure.
It is kind of crazy. Just as we're moving right here. So thank you so much, everybody.
And if that wasn't enough, here she comes again, the queen, Just a Duchy for £2. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for the euros there, Just Duchy. Thank you for everything. Awesome stuff right there. And yes, over 9,000.
Oh, that's beautiful. Awesome. And to top it off, we have the one and only Go and Shogi mod extraordinaire, chef extraordinaire of the Vash Sky McVash meal. And Jared, I'll let you in on that if you weren't present. He came in gifting 10 Vash Sky ParkCast memberships. Oh, there's a happy dance right there, Vash.
It's a good dance.
Beautiful. And then we have Hidden Geek Village. Oh my goodness. Gifting 5 Vash Sky ParkCast memberships. Let's shout out all the new Skywatchers. They're Skywatchers, right, Vash? Please correct me.
Yes, they're Skywatchers. Yeah.
All right.
We have for everybody else.
Emmanuel R. Booze on Life. 5165. Sorry if I said that wrong. Flippin' Monkey 42. Emily Kruger 2844. Mickey's My Spirit Animal 223. And Sky 2010. I like that. Lin Jin and V4MP Kitten. We have Vipkin, Just J10 and Damekobi. How do you want to say that, Vash?
Damek Boy. There we go. We'll go ahead.
I love that. Well, you're the anime expert here. We have Lewis and AS33, Gustav O.A. Velasquez, 3798, Anthony W2Z5Z, Dreppy 1985. I love that year. I can Droopy 1985. I can relate on the 1985 part. Chris and Rick from Chicago, congratulations. Is there more people that I'm missing here?
Yes.
Holy moly. Geek Village with 10 more? Holy
Not
moly.
Enough.
Wow.
For 5. Wanted to do 15 total. Absolutely tremendous.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for that.
And D Bud Martin, I see you out there. You got a gifted membership. Shout out to D Bud Martin. Extremely amazing human being and mod. Mike Shaw 7453, Stephanie Mathis 6457, Jillian of the H, John Burney, Janedo And we have Trickon 42, Dave Owen number 1, CC Karaoke. I like that. Danny V 82OC. Congratulations indeed.
Dane, Idaho, I do believe right there. CC Karaoke, been a long time mod and supporter of the Various Pro Network right there. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. So good. Jared, we want to go ahead and see some Skyliner emojis in the chat. Use your new emojis that you just got. That'd be kind of cool right there. That'd be cool. Awesome stuff, Jared.
I had to point this out. James all day. Vash close to 10K subs. It's a celebration almost today. Oh my God.
Got more.
Hold on, but I'm about to pass out. You guys are over. Wait, I have fireworks. Fireworks.
Go ahead, Jared. What were you going to say?
Oh my God. Just the Dutchie.
Let's have the choo-choo card, the conductor part.
Yeah.
Do you want the choo-choo? Okay.
Please.
There you go. All aboard.
Oh my God. Let's shout out these new Skywatchers. Where are you? Okay. Nancy Broadway, 3936. Patrick Ganaway, 8906. It's Komegon. Is that another anime reference? Probably.
Kome Gohan. Yeah.
Okay, you're the expert. You're the Japanese expert.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Inagru and PJO 1961. Hi, Penny. John Wayne 1985. Hero at Large 323 and Wele Quixote. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Animals Zone Info. Nice. I like that. Louisiana Soares 47. Congratulations.
Wow.
Flex in the chat, guys. Flex in the chat. You drop those emojis and celebrate because it is about you. You are now a new member and we appreciate you being here.
How many super chats or gifted memberships to get Vash to flex I think is a real thing people want to know.
Oh, that's interesting right there.
The flex the muscles? My goodness.
Muscular, I'm just saying.
I know how to see myself out if he starts flexing.
See, it's close. It's close.
Whoa.
Right there. Hayden Kick Village, thank you so much for that. That is awesome stuff right there. Go and Shogi, by
10,
the way.
20,
Absolutely.
30, 5 gifted memberships today. Maybe more. I think. Did I get them all? Holy moly. Guacamole.
Yeah. it's hard to count when there's so much green in the chat right there. Thank you.
Carry the 5. Yeah, I think that's right.
Hidden Geek Village comes back with a $10 super chat. 10K by the end of July. Let it be written. Let it be done.
I agree with that. And OG said the same. I think within a few weeks you get it. So.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just saying.
It is possible. That is. I don't know about weeks, but you guys are just awesome. You guys are just super cool right here. Touchy, thank you so much. She couldn't be left out. She's like, I got to do it right there. Thank you for that, especially over 9K right there. Just extraordinary. Just so great. And by the way, all of you who have just been turned from gray to green, you now know of the Vash and Vixen show that we have on Saturdays. We're going to be celebrating 250th of the nation's birth right there, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, with going over the history of Americana-themed attractions over there at Disneyland or Disney Parks Worldwide, honestly. Like the America on Parade, Jared. Almost from Mr. Lincoln. Hall of Presidents. America Sings.
Beautiful.
All that and more. That's going to be a lot of fun.
And I think this is clip-worthy.
You read what others had done, and you took the next step. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
That's a good point right there.
It's a great
It is. Yeah. He's talking about you on this one.
Well, that's fantastic stuff.
You
right
gentlemen
there.
get back to the show, and I will see you in the next.
Thank you so much, MJ. Very much appreciate you. Yeah, we got to get the clips in there, and we played a little bit of this on That Park Place, but we got to show it here as well.
You didn't. Well, of all the cheap, lousy ways to save a buck.
Exactly.
Love that movie.
55. Oh, MJ brought this up. With all the super chats, Vash might be in contention to buy NBC Universal. Let's go.
Boy. Although I do call if that happens, I want to be head of content development. I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring there at that point. We're just going to fight. We're just going to get a whole slews of people. We're going to redo all this.
Which hat? Which hat? Not my hat, because my hat is better than yours today, Jared. I'm celebrating 250 with the Mickey.
So is this. Same thing.
But yours looks like it's promoting beer.
You can promote both. That's an argument. That's what makes America great is freedom and the beer.
Exactly. There might be a lot of that on this weekend. I theorized right
there.
There
will be in my neighborhood for sure. I have no doubt about that.
That's fantastic right there. Thank you so much for everybody out there. It's been a blast, and wow, I'm just really taken aback by that. That's some crazy stuff. I didn't even have this as a necessarily a celebration stream, but man, you guys showed up and you showed up big. Thank you for that. We got to get on to our next story right here. And Jared, okay, you called dibs on content development, you saying? Okay.
Yes.
OG, just let you know, I'm going to give you a role. You call dibs on that. MJ, don't worry, we'll get you on the organization just fine. Whoa!
I'm sorry.
I can't even start
I'm so sorry.
Segment.
No, you cannot. Nope. We have Dude Man Cuz gifting.
Whoa!
50 Vash Sky Park membership.
I think that's what that was for, right? I mean, I'm not speaking for Dude Man Cuz, but I'm just saying,
Vash, if you will do the honors of releasing the new members' names. Do the honors.
I don't know about that, man. 50, that's a lot right there. Well, okay, I'll highlight some.
They're still loading.
Here.
They're still loading.
They're still loading. Yeah. So extraordinary. Thank you so much, guys. This is absolutely
going to break down from all this.
Let's see how fast we can do this. You want me to give it a shot, or you want to do it?
No. Okay,
go for it. Go for it, Vash.
We'll go for it. We'll go with a few, right? Like old Uncle Salty told me, for example. That's a cool name right there. Jed Ravenwolf. Thank you so much. We've seen you on, Pro Show and everything like that before. Thank you so much for coming on here. The Unwashed Masses part of this. That's a great name, isn't that right? Late Night Rabbit coming on in here. Christoph. Her Bailey right there. That's pretty cool. Be Our Geist. Hey, nice to see you right there. Krista Joe. Also, too, I see you, Drunk 3PO. I see you. You're out there. You're, seeing the stream right there. Well, now guess what? You're a Skywatcher there as well. We got to get Drunk 3PO on Theme Park. I think that'd be a fantastic program. The DA coming on in here. That's some pretty cool stuff right there.
Yeah.
Aldo Casabona. Fantastic that you're now a member of Vash Sky ParkCast. That is super cool. Scraps the Barbarian right there. Seagull Gunner. Fletcher Williams. Hey, Fletcher. Thank you so much for coming on in and joining us right here. Thank you for that. Man, it's just really extraordinary. This is
Drunk 3PO is out there as well. He got a gifted membership.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's
lurking.
It is crazy.
Yeah, you can't lurk. There. You will be found if you get a gift.
Yeah. We gotta. I gotta reach out to Jay right there and get him on the show.
Vash, I'm so sorry to break some bad news. You got a gifted membership.
Oh, I did get a gifted membership. I did get a gifted. Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you know how many times that's happened to me? And I give it back. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's what I'm gonna do right now. I gotta give it back. Go ahead, Jared. What were you gonna say?
No, you can now see your own content. So there you go. It's unlocked for you.
That's true. That's actually pretty helpful.
Before we go to the next segment, we got to do like a clip celebration, but I'll make it quick.
So what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the.
They don't know what the they're doing.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Time to be turning around. If only you could.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
You didn't. Well, of all the cheap, lousy ways to save a buck.
Dude, the Trump sent me. I was not expecting that one. I was like, whoa, what happened there?
Hey, we are celebrating America's birthday, so hey, why not, right?
That's a good point. Now, the Trump always gets you.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
It always, happens.
Nolan Sky. Did you hear what I said? I said Nolan Sky. Nolan Thunder he's a Sky Watcher. Nolan, are you out there?
That's right. Yeah,
That's cool.
I decided, you know what? We got to pay it forward right here. So, boom, there you go. We have now 5 more Sky Watchers out there. So, Theme Park Wizard got one. Compton Girl got one as well. Blah, 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 blah. Got one. Starshine, Nolan Thunder. Nolan, thank you so much, buddy. We're going to get you on this program right here. I got to get you on. That's fantastic stuff.
This is great. Just the Dutchie says it's great to have you as a Sky Watcher, Vash. You got your gifted membership.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, exactly. Jared knows it's easier to manage a channel when you're a member, so it actually does help out quite a bit. But we can't let it stand like that. Like MJ did before, actually. I was going to actually thank you, MJ, so much for gifting 5 yourself last week. That was a really, really cool gesture. That was awesome stuff. Welcome. So very, very cool. Man, that's...
I will see you on the other side.
Absolutely. You guys are too much. It's you're affecting this old theme park fan right here. Okay, Jared, sorry about that. I do apologize. I don't mean
How dare the chat interrupt our discussion with their support? I mean, what are they? What are we doing?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I thank you so much for all of that, but the show must go on, and I think I hear something, Jared. I think that's our next segment right here. Disney debuts first projection mapped face on an audio animatronic. That's June 26, 2026 here by Mike over there at Blog Mickey right here. The next generation of audio animatronics is no longer a concept. Disney has put its new projection mapped face technology into a Disney theme park attraction for the very first time. And it shows up in one of Disneyland's oldest scenes. The skeleton pirate up top the gold in Pirates of the Caribbean contains the first projection mapped audio animatronic face for a Disney theme park attraction. What he can do now wasn't possible on any Disney figure before this one. And people might be asking, wait a minute, we've had projection mapped faces before, ever since Constance Hatchaway back in the Haunted Mansion, right? Whenever that came about. It's like, yes, that's true, but this is different, right? So in the case of Constance Hatchaway, she was a static figure. And honestly, that's basically, if you're looking at external projections, that's basically what it's been, right? So if you look at, for example, let's see, like the ghosts, the busts there in the graveyard scene in the Haunted Mansion, that goes back to 1969. That's an external projection effect. I think Madame Leota was done that way for a period of time as well. Well, obviously that all changes when projection technology gets much smaller, right? And now you can actually have projections within the faces themselves, which is very, very cool. So that's how Buzz Lightyear currently works at Astra Blasters and the equivalent at Magic Kingdom. That's how Seven Dwarfs Mine Train works, and that's how Frozen did for a period of time as well. Well, now we've got projections going external again, but this time you can now project onto a moving object like this one here, and that high fidelity is maintained. Previously, they were not able to do that, and now you have this kind of tracking technology in which it tracks the movement of the figure and adjusts accordingly in order to maintain that fidelity and to maintain that image on that figure right there. Now, not maybe the best showcase, I think, because this really isn't really an audio animatronic, Jared. This is kind of like a head and an arm. That's all that really moves right there. So, you have audio animatronic parts, perhaps. I don't know if this is necessarily an audio animatronic per se, but just your initial impressions on this, Jared, and then I'll go ahead and go into the history and what we can actually glean from something like this and how, I don't know, maybe this is a tech showcase more than a blessing. What say you?
Yeah, I think it's, when I was looking at this, like what Disney shows it doing versus what the footage we've seen and like from people's footage on the ride, it just doesn't look great. And I think anytime, I think the main reason you get a lot of the reaction to this is like you put this in Pirates. So you've already have Walt's Original Park, you put it into a classic attraction at a part where, and I don't know Disneyland very well, so I'm not going to speak to like, I don't know the differences necessarily between Disneyland and Disney World's version, but like, does it actually fit in the story of that ride at that point? and then you've got some, animatronics that are older and newer and things. I think it's not perfect. Like, it's not like where it could be. I think you give this a few more years, it probably will be really, really good. It's better than the Frozen faces. I will give it that. It is better than that, but that was probably. It's also weird that Disney just spent a bunch of money to redo those animatronics where they replaced the projection faces with actual animatronics. So it's interesting. Like, this new tech is promising, but it just seems a little bit underwhelming, I think, is the final product. And I think in a ride like this, it needs to be a little bit more polished. I think if you would have put this into like a Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin or something, you wouldn't have near the reaction of this. But I do agree with you. I do think this is more of a showcase of the tech than versus this actually going in here to like plus up this attraction.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I think when you have a classic attraction, that changes the stakes just a little bit when it comes to the inclusion of tech. And we've seen some reactions before when it comes to Constant Stashaway, for example, back in the Haunted Mansion. Also, too, the inclusion of Jack Sparrow and Barbossa. There are still people to this day who have not necessarily made peace with their inclusion right there. We've obviously seen, very near this scene, actually, the waterfall effect that was cascading there. I believe it's still actually at Walt Disney World, but at Disneyland, they actually removed that in the 2018 update to this attraction, actually carried out by Kim Irvine right there. In order to do that, it was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and, remove a scene, but let's not leave this area without a scene. And so Kim Irvine, taking inspiration from the original intent of these attractions, actually said, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and add a transition scene so that the two acts come together. And might seem a little bit odd, but I'll go ahead and have Kim explain it in her words right here. Let's go ahead and see. This is a recording back in 2018. And there you go. And here we go. Let's go ahead and do this.
Mark Davis and Claude Coates.
Whoop. I can't. I got to put it on screen first. There you go.
Pirates was written in two acts, so to speak. The first act is showing them after they passed away from greed, and the second act is told how they were in their living years, the lifestyle they lived, looking for treasure. So in between those two acts is what we call a transition scene.
It illustrates a pirate who has been caught in another pirate's booby trap as he was trying to steal his treasure. You also may notice.
So there you go. So they've added a transition scene now in order to, provide this link between what had come pirates of, I guess, of the future, right? I think Walt actually considered them retired pirates, which I think is very, very funny. And obviously the audio animatronics afterwards, right? And so in this transition, you actually see via a mirror effect, very similar to what you actually see on Journey into Imagination with Figment, right? With the butterfly, if you've ever seen that effect. Very similar what's actually occurring right there, which is actually pretty cool. Well, now you have this figure that kind of flies in the face of all of that, literally in the face, because, well, now you have this animated character here right before this transition scene. Doesn't quite make sense with the overall story, and certainly when you actually hear the figure himself, maybe not so consistent with the atmosphere that has been so beautifully preserved in this attraction for almost 60 years. Let's go ahead and hear what that actually sounds like. This footage provided by Guy Selga over there on X. Definitely check him out if you have not yet. Oops, sorry. Very loud, okay, very obnoxious. It totally ruins the vibe, the setting, the atmosphere of the scene shared, which is very, very surprising. I think it would feel even out of place at Walt Disney World, if I do say so myself. So you've got these very obnoxious, loud sounds in this classic attraction. Remember the last attraction that Walt himself personally worked on right here. So there's a special connection, I think, that fans actually have with this. But moreover, it just is not keeping with the story, not keeping with the technology of the time, because you'll note that the transition scene right there that Kim Irvine installed. Very practical, right? And very utilizing a lot of techniques that are consistent with the time period in which this attraction actually opened up, and that being, 1967 right there. So it's kind of like, I don't know what the intent here is from a storytelling perspective or a plussing perspective, but Jared, what if I were to tell you that perhaps this was more of a tech showcase than anything else?
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that before. I think that is probably what this is. And really, I didn't realize it was on a loop like that and just being that loud. And also, we've seen with people with Hollywood, people are wanting more practical effects. I don't think a lot of people are saying, like,
That's so
I wish
true.
there was more CGI out there. And especially, it's the context of it. It's like the spirit behind it. It's like, okay, I love new tech. I'm not against new tech. But throwing CGI into, say,
So this project
or something like that, like a classic movie, is going to be weird. You'd be like, nothing else is in this movie like this. And the one scene, you're like, oh, we redid this scene here. And I think you have to be really careful where you're putting this stuff in. Why? Is it actually to plus this attraction, or is it to showcase this technology that you may be trying to show off to other destinations, other investors? And I think the intent is important behind it. And really, I think the Disney fan base, and I made this point last night, so I'm going to repeat myself, but I think it's important. Like, we've seen Hollywood really kind of become adversarial with their audience in many ways.
That's
They're
true.
like, why do these nerds care if his costume is X, Y, and Z? Well, it's actually a blessing to have people that care that much. And sure, it can be annoying because in this scene, probably if you moved a treasure chest, you're going to have a bunch of people writing articles being like, they moved the treasure chest in here. What are they doing? And so if you look at it through the lens of being like, oh, these people are so annoying and they're how much they care, but brands would kill to have people care like this about the things that they do. And so
Correct.
if you're treating this how you should be treating it, having in the curtain, the proper perspective, there's definitely places for this tech. I agree with you. It seems very odd and like sticks out like a sore thumb in here. And I don't think this is the best use of that tech for this ride. And to me, if you're going to premiere this, it's like, it needs to really like, whoa, like you need to blow you away with how cool it is. I just don't think it's quite there. I think it gets there, but as it is right now, it just is kind of like, okay, like now you've got a CGI face thing on Pirates, which I don't think it really fits the vibe.
Right, I don't think it really fits the vibe. Audio wise, doesn't fit the vibe. It's it's on such a small loop, like you were pointing out before, so beautifully. I think it's like on a 4-second loop or something. Is when it restarts, and it's kind of like, okay, well, if you're in a boat that's traveling along there, you might see it 2 to 3 times, which kind of takes away from the power of it, which is also a very strange choice. But I think the analogy to CGI, as Go and Chogi beautifully points out right here, the CGI analogy is spot on. This is Jabba talking to Han Solo in A New Hope. I think you're totally right about that. Both of you, Go and Chogi and you, Jared, right there. We have seen this relationship with fans that is not great. And it's almost like, Jared, I don't know, call me crazy, but it's almost like they utilize established properties in order to gain access to their fan bases, but don't necessarily want to tell those stories. They want to tell their own stories. So they use this new medium in order to do that right there. Let's go ahead and put on some footage. You're actually seeing it play out right now, but I want to go ahead and play it with some audio. This is of Imagineering talking about the technology behind this precise unit right here.
So this project is our new hybrid front projection technology. Really, this technology is an extension of our traditional animatronics. We're adding new capabilities and new features on top of it. We basically start with our figure control. The animatronics animation system is controlling what the figure is doing, but at the same time, is feeding all that data in real time back into Unreal. This is from our ongoing partnership with Epic Games. So you can see here, this is the image and the media that we're projecting. Its movement and any animation that happens on this is driven in real time by the figure animation system. Here, for the first time, we're doing projection mapping onto moving figures and moving objects. So we actually created a completely new technique that we have patented, have the image line up precisely every time.
Nobody cares if implemented poorly. Nobody cares about the tech if you don't actually do it with some quality. Jared, am I off base about that? I mean, I've heard some people say, well, they just got rid of frozen projection face technology. And it's like, yes, they did. This uses an entirely new system, and it doesn't matter because it's this distinction without a quality difference. What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the tech is interesting, and using Unreal, which again, I think points to tomorrow there's all those rumors about they do have a stake in Epic. Are they going to try and actually maybe buy Epic, and then they would have control of Unreal Engine? And so it's like, the tech is cool, but it's like Jeff Goldblum. Did you ever stop to ask just because you can? Should you? And I think that's the thing here. It's like there is a place, like, for instance, this technology, I think OG pointed this out, like the melting face in the Indiana Jones ride or something like that could be really cool. There are places where this would be really great, but I think in how they're using this on this right and how they've implemented this, it just doesn't fit the overall thing here. And you're right, like people aren't going to care about the tech, and they're going to go, wait a minute, we have more projection faces, then we just get rid of these things. And from the normie crowd, they're not going to really, it's not like they're going to be running this Imagineering video on loop before you get on there and they're like, oh, that tech is cool. It's just, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because this is something you really thought would make the attraction better? Or as what we've seen with Hollywood and stuff as well, it's like, well, we want to put our mark on this attraction. And I think you can do both if you execute it correctly, but you have to be, first and foremost, it has to be about the ride, about the goal, and does it fit the overall theme? And then if you want to put your mark on it by making it a better attraction with your plussing up, that's a different conversation. But this seems very forced in here. And look at the tech. Look at what we're doing here, and seemingly not for the people riding the attraction necessarily.
Yeah, and they have footage. I'll go ahead and put this up. We won't watch it, but I want to go ahead and have people see what Disney maybe what they were intending here with this thing. You'll remember this, Jared. Maybe if you saw the Walt Disney Imagineering update that they actually had, showing off some of their more technological innovations. Like I think this was the same one with the Olaf animatronic. If you remember that whole thing. Anyway, they showed off this, and this is really where this technology is coming from, as Scott Gustin beautifully pointed out on his X account. And if the idea is, okay, let's go ahead and take a face that's already like molded, like, obviously already in dimension, right? Maybe has been carved out by Blaine Gibson or otherwise, and you want to go ahead and add effects on there like a tear, which is what they actually show in this, or like a scar that just has happened. Maybe Bruce Willis over there is getting into a sword fight in the Pirates of the Caribbean, and he it makes a mark on him. That might be a little bit different. Obviously, with Pirates of the Caribbean, it's kind of like, we don't necessarily want projected effects, shoved in this. That would take us out of it. But maybe Pirates of the Caribbean over there at Shanghai, that might be appropriate for Jack Sparrow, for example. Or Lincoln shedding a tear, actually giving a speech. That might be pretty cool. That might be pretty interesting. This implementation, though, doesn't work. Melting faces, that'd be awesome. In Indiana Jones, what are you doing here? That's I think, what people don't necessarily realize. And I think we did have a little bit of a melting face. The melting face of Mara there in the attraction actually currently exists right now. Of course, that's a static figure, but it could be really cool with a, fleshed out audio animatronic figure. Anyway, it's just the wrong place, wrong time. So why are they doing it? Well, Bloomberg may have provided us an answer right here when they were interviewing Kyle Laughlin, Senior Vice President for Technology and R&D at Walt Disney Imagineering. Quote, "We're working backwards through our other experiences to test and learn so that we can deliver on that promise, and that all of our parks will benefit from the innovations between now and then." Yes, it's a tech demo, folks, and even Bloomberg actually points out here that the technology points to a future where Disney's robots can convey emotion with more realism, particularly ahead of the Abu Dhabi park launch. This actually might be connected to a park thousands of miles away that maybe a lot of us aren't actually going to see, but your favorite attraction will benefit from. Jared, I just don't like this at all. It's the wrong place, it's the wrong time, it's obnoxious, doesn't make any sense, and if it's a tech demo, that's even worse, not better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the tech is cool. The idea, the potential you could do with this is really cool, and I have no issue with that if they're going to do this with like Tropical Americas or the car stuff, whatever it is. Like, look at where it is now, and you can add scars. It's cool, but I agree. It's like, in my opinion, I thought maybe the way this was supposed to go was Abu Dhabi was doing these things that they're testing as the testing ground, that if it works out there, then we bring it to the domestic parks. this idea that you're going to have Walt's original park, which I would love to know Walt's opinion on. Hey, we're going to take your original park and showcase some tech for the Abu Dhabi park we're doing. Like, what? That's not what you're supposed to be doing here. Like, the Trump, like, what in the world are you doing? It's just the stuff behind it is kind of it's definitely off the mark. And I think it's unfortunately, I think the tech demo thing is exactly what this is. And again, if you put it in another ride, I don't think it'd be as big of a deal. It could be really cool, but it's just pirates and the history, all that stuff. Like, I don't think that this makes this attraction better. But does it create more enjoyment? Does it tell the story better? I suppose is the question. I can't speak to that because I haven't written it out there before, but that would be the way once you start this. And if it doesn't, then you don't do it. And I think that's really kind of a simple delineating line you could pull when you're plussing, especially historic attractions.
Well, I love how you say enjoyment right there, because it wasn't for your enjoyment, folks. It was for theirs. And I guess they do tell tales. They say, ooh, oh, in this very annoying manner that reverberates throughout the entire
sound clip to use it for something. Like, you just have a bunch of grunting where somebody, a super chat or something. Yeah, just gotta grab that.
Yeah. It's just like, guys, what were you thinking? Again, it's it might be the right tech, and it might be maybe even the right place. I can see this working in other areas of Disneyland, just not here. So There you go. MJ, come on, let yourself back in here. We have a little bit more support that we can go ahead and get into while watching this extraordinary view. Please go ahead, man.
Did someone summon Trump?
They don't know what the f they're doing. Do you understand that?
I love how he says he just walks away.
I had to get the walk away part.
I want to do that to people. What they're doing is walk to my helicopter.
We have a couple of supers, but there was 2 really good comments I highlighted. I think this is from the segment from before, but I can't let this go unseen, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Orange Grove 55. Universal needs a successful streamer. Netflix needs theme parks and more of that. Flywheel to profit from. I mean, it's not a terrible marriage, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible marriage at all. And look, I mean, if Peacock can be maybe incorporated into Netflix right there, and maybe a similar fashion, the Hulu integration is currently happening with Disney Plus. I mean, leg up all the world right there. And if Universal does have that outlet for their products and IPs and so forth on Netflix, that's a huge boon for them as well.
Absolutely.
What is the biggest property for streaming on Peacock? Is it sports? I'm trying to think of like this.
You know what? That's a good question because there's so much Universal, but I've been seeing like the FIFA tournament on there, the matches, the games. I don't know. That's such a good. If anyone in the chat knows about Peacock, we would like to know about Peacock.
It's mostly sports. I think that's what's mostly propping most of that up, because they even mentioned in their earnings call that was where they were seeing most of their growth, which is
they're saying Love Island USA is one of their largest shows.
No, thank you. To the next comment, we have Go and Shogi. If they would have just plus the original skeleton with movement similar to the drinking pirate or steering wheel pirate, it wouldn't be so bad, but the cartoonish face is impossible to look past. Yeah, it's giving Anna and Elsa. It's not new technology.
And what happens, by the way, in B mode when this isn't working? Are we going to get those?
You're going to get a Windows message.
A blue screen of death.
Blue screen of death right there. I guess dead man really don't tell.
Just like the Windows, like don't like that sound when it goes through. Like, oh no. Not working now.
Like Sebastian's eyes had that for like months.
Yeah.
O2RR for $9.99. Tom's new song says it. Here you go, Vash. Want to read that one? So you can sing the song and do the dance. Yeah.
No, I see. They strapped a projector onto his face. Let's see. He turns into flesh as he looks at the gold because they can't leave a skeleton creepy, and old yo-ho, we are changing the lore. Yeah, they're changing the lore indeed. I don't like this right here. I don't like when they just shoehorn. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to maybe Jack Sparrow actually, going through this transition at the very end of the attraction. You could have it at Walt Disney World, certainly, but at Disneyland, you could carve that out right there where he picks up the gold and, like the story kind of comes full circle right there. He turns to a skeleton and it's like, oh, okay, well, then there you go. That's how we got to the starting position right there. That could be very interesting. And since it's the finale, you can give a little bit wider berth to new technologies, new effects, etc. Because it's, it is the finale scene. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. They didn't go that route. They shoved it here. And so it's like, dang it, man. Yeah. Even the attraction, it could have worked better than where they actually ultimately placed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have Go and Shogi, again. Thank you, Go and Shogi. It doesn't visually make sense if you turn into a skeleton, but retain the muscle mass of living human. Its transition is uncanny and it isn't clean. It's not. It really isn't. He's right.
That's a good point.
Very cartoonish. It just doesn't look quite right. Is part of it's almost like that uncanny valley with video games. It's like it's close, but there's just something there.
With all these gifted memberships and super chats, we can host the gingerbread house and refurbish the Pirates restaurant at Disneyland.
That's true. I think we can officially do that now. Yes.
Vash Sky is the new Imagineer. He is in it. He's like, right now, hire him. We will fix the rides.
I'm going to have Assistant MJ with me and my content delivery chairman right there, Jared, to help me out with that. But yes, I think we can accomplish these tasks just fine. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen Entourage, by the way? The show?
No,
I've heard of it.
The scene where Ari goes in and fires everybody in his place because he just bought it. That would be me and Lucas. Get out of here! You're just going through.
I love that.
That's actually really funny. Oh, that's actually really funny. James All Day for $2. Disney needs new ownership. Yeah, Vash. He's gonna be the new. You don't need 2 showers, right, Vash? You got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 showers.
Yeah. No, we don't need. We don't need 2 showers. 1 shower will be just fine. There's no question about that. So,
success comes more need for showering, though. I mean,
that's true.
I'm pretty sure Bob Iger wrote that in his book.
I'm pretty sure you're right there. It's
oh man, this has been a very good stream today.
It's been extraordinary. Jared is killing it. It's interesting that you say about the muscle mass because I know Vixen was very, very keen on, well, wait a minute, his hand doesn't change, but his face does. Like, what's going on there? That's a very good point. And when you think about a skeleton, right, because of all that muscle mass and everything else, the clothes would kind of recede a little bit, right, as you withered away to a skeleton. That's not happening here either. Like I said, it's just the head and the hand that moves, and so it looks a little bit disjointed on that end, and it doesn't complete the full effect when you really think about it.
Absolutely. And I think, we got some comments. Vashyland. And that's from Jonathan Butcher. That's actually really clever. Freedom Seeker. That one's Vash has a lot of sound effects at his machine. So
I've got a couple right there.
Yeah.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Couldn't say that about the Comcast.
He always surprises me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's just buy it all. Let's just do it all. Do it our way.
Exactly. This Saturday, we're going to be celebrating.
It's called a salute to all nations, but mostly America.
Great. There you go. You see?
Sam Eagle. Yay.
You got a couple things right there.
Freedom Seeker. He says he met as the CEO of Disney. I got you. Okay.
I see. Yes. So the Vash / Walt Disney Company. Gotcha. Okay. I understand what's going on there.
All right, you guys. Well, that's all I have for you, I think, at the moment, unless I missed something. Is there anything else you guys wanted to point out? Jared, did you see anything in the live chat that stood out to you that you want me to highlight?
I don't know. I saw it earlier. I was gonna say you brought up that Orange Code 55. I gotta watch that guy. He's dangerous in the chat. You never know what he's gonna get.
He's good stuff.
It is funny. I'm liking all the Vashy. Like I feel like the Vash plushies are a natural extension of you get the
Vash Sky plushie. Oh my gosh!
If you're gonna call it Vashy Land, you gotta have the Vashy plushie
and the squishmallows and the cotton candy and the popcorn and the pretzels.
Yeah. It just becomes a big project all about Vash, and they're just like the parks are better, but this is weird. This is not who it is.
That's funny right there. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Jared, I'll be in contact with you to get those Vash Pluses out there in production, okay? Right.
We'll get a good deal.
Got it.
Yeah.
I need a warehouse guy for that, so you're the perfect.
I drove a fork truck for 7 years in a warehouse. I know my way around. I can.
Right.
My weird skill was I could look up at. I used to come get me if there was like a third rack up there. I could tell you. I don't know what it is about spatial stuff. I could tell you if it would fit or not. I was like 90% accurate. I have no idea. It's a very strange skill to have, but I think it helps with fork truck driving. So I don't know.
Well, there you go. Fantastic discussion. Fantastic time, folks. MJ, you are the best in bringing that up right there. And man, that's so much fun. Too much fun.
A lot
now
of
we
fun.
got to talk about something a little bit more interesting. Now, MJ, you actually sent me this actually right after our show on Thursday right here. Maybe, Jared, you know what I'm going to be talking about. Big old fire over there at the Dolphin Resort, which is very, very interesting. Didn't have this one on my bingo card, but alas, here you go. Smoke scene rising from the Walt Disney World Dolphin Hotel Thursday evening. This by Theme Park Scope out there. June 25th, 2026. Further talk from witnesses and guests on Reddit have revealed the smoke's initial start may have come from the Bourbon Steakhouse's kitchen. And up to the ventilation system, several commenters noted their reservations for the restaurants were canceled. Guests were not allowed back into the hotel as of reopening. Additionally, guests were reporting that the hotel is stating that the incident started in an AC unit, which is very, very interesting. I know that we saw some footage of firemen actually going up there and examining those AC systems. I do believe it ended with the kitchen, though. At least, I mean, you can't necessarily get a reservation as it stands right now. I tried to look up to see if you could at this current time. I unconfirmed right there, but you can kind of see some video here. Here you go. This happened Thursday, like we were saying before. Lots of smoke coming off of the Dolphin. Jared, what's going on?
That's a really or somebody was barbecuing on their balcony and they got
it actually happened at the steakhouse we just ate at in February. It's the Bourbon Steakhouse had an issue in the kitchen.
So that's the steakhouse that took over Shula's, right?
Shula's.
That's correct.
Yeah,
but the thing that I learned from our good friend Go and Shogi, chef extraordinaire of the McVash and other things, soon to come to this channel, when the fire alarms go off, the sprinkler system that you think would just throw water, it actually throws a certain type of chemical. So they, by law, they get shut down, I think by OSHA or some major, Department of Health or whatever. They shut it down and it's for days. So they were without business for a while, probably a good week or so.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough. It's a great place to eat.
I will tell you, searing, I know my way around a smoker and things. When you are like, say, searing meats, you do have some flare-up potential, definitely, because a lot of times it's very hot. So, I mean, I could see it as, we've seen stuff like that in kitchens before. But yeah, I remember seeing something real quick on X, and I scrolled through it quick, but that is a lot of smoke. That seems
really
to me
is.
a pretty substantial fire broke out if there's that much smoke.
Yeah.
Well, and you had an evacuation of the hotel itself, which is that's not cool. So, if you're thinking, in this super hot weather, let's go ahead and just take the load off there at our amazing Dolphin Resort Hotel.
Lodge. Oh, wait a minute, we can't do AC there.
But one thing you can, a meal that you can find is right here on the channel, just like O2RR said. Don't forget the one and only McVash meal. And there will be a meal of the month, guys.
Yes,
it's going to be so much fun. Yes, every month, the third Wednesday of the month, we will have a premiere, and it's going to be from a theme park anywhere in the world based off of a favorite beloved attraction. And the chef is in the kitchen and he's cooking, and there will be no smoke or fires.
Yeah, no smoke, not yet. Anyway, things pending, but no, Go and Shogi, he's one of a kind right there. Meal of the month will be very, very cool. Definitely want to check that out. Jared, it was so interesting because last week's stories were so resort themed, right? You had Wilderness Lodge on I think it was day 7 or 8 or. Day 7, they had the air conditioning system shut off for a period of time right there in order to work on it. That's not great. Then Kidani Village actually goes down for a period of time. That's no good. And now we have an AC unit maybe at the heart of this incident right here. Look, this is just speculation. I understand. I get it. But Jared, I'm thinking what's the maintenance program look like here? You can't have so many problems amongst so many distinct properties, especially right now in the heart of summer with a heat advisory. What's going on?
I agree, and that's been a question for years with Disney of pulling back on maintenance, and it does make you wonder if it's an easy thing you could see pulling back on. Or you just go, let's just not do it right now until it burns you. And then in this situation, maybe you had 3 separate incidents where you're having AC related problems that then probably end up costing you more money than it would have just actually do the maintenance whenever you should have done it. Probably is probably the interesting part behind that. But yeah, I mean, 3, if this is AC related, that would be 3 separate AC incidents at Disney resorts within a month. That is not a good trend during a heat wave, and that's not like Florida's going to get cooler until maybe October. A lot of times September is even hotter than August. So it's not like
it wasn't just the resorts either that got affected. For some strange reason, when we were there for Father's Day weekend at Disney Springs, the majority of the shops, including World of Disney, was very hot and muggy. And normally you go into those shops, and to cool down and get some fresh, some good AC, but they weren't working. Even the restroom was hot and muggy. I'm like, what is happening here in the restaurants too? It was totally bizarre. I don't think I've ever experienced that at Disney Springs during the summer. The AC is usually cold and just blasting as you walk through the door. You know what I mean, Jared? When you
that's one thing I pointed out for years. This started under Chapek is you can definitely tell in the parks that they don't have the AC blowing as hard as they
right.
Like that is a very noticeable thing. What my wife always, because my wife's been going to Disney since she was like 2 years old.
Me
and
too.
it used to be like we're walking down Main Street and you'd feel that air come in. You're like, oh, especially on a hot day. And you go in these stores, it's not like, I'm not saying it's like you're sweating, but like it's a little muggy.
It's muggy. Yeah.
And I think there has been a pullback on AC, probably just from a spreadsheet management thing again. But yeah, like this is a very, like, you're just going to assume a property like Disney is doing the maintenance on vital things like air conditioning, like these necessities. Because when these things go out, I mean, who wants to shop while you're sweating?
No, it's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would imagine you're not going to sell as much merchandise because people just want to get out of the heat. So these are things that if there is an AC issue, they're not doing the maintenance here. I mean, I guess you would blame this under an Iger thing, because I don't know if under Damaro, maybe he has a new thing, but that is something that has been brought up a lot over the past few years. Most of the time talking about ride maintenance. But again, we've seen this with the sewage issues at Magic Kingdom that's happened at least twice. And I think there was even one year Wilderness Lodge a couple of years ago. So it's kind of been an ongoing trend with Disney in an aging infrastructure. That is one thing that a lot of people don't ever talk about very much, but it's not like Disney World's infrastructure is fresh.
Right.
I think they do need to do some stuff to really update it. And you might now starting to see some of this stuff pop up from lack of really proper maintenance.
Absolutely. Right. I agree with you 100%. There's no need to go into a restaurant, like a sit down restaurant, like STK Steakhouse where we were. It was really, really hot and muggy in there. When you usually sit at a restaurant, not a quick service meal, a restaurant, and you're paying a good buck to sit in there, you want to have some fresh AC. It was not the case at all. Very bizarre.
Don't like that at all. Don't like that at all. And Jared's exactly right. Aging infrastructure, I think that's definitely got to be contributing to a lot of these problems here. And I don't know if it's maintenance, but you are totally right about that when it comes to the AC and certainly attractions. I just saw a Reddit post just like a couple of days ago where they were like, hey, what's going on with the AC at Walt Disney World? All these attractions that usually were ice cold back in the day, now super hot, super muggy. What is going on? And maybe that's part of, this changing mindset in, hey, I just don't want to go to Walt Disney World, not because, it's hot during the summer, but because it's hot in Walt Disney World on your attractions that you're supposed to cool down, and you're just hot everywhere. And it's like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going during the winter. Maybe that's possible.
Yeah. I mean, it honestly, like I noticed it at first. I can't remember that building where they haven't done the last few years, but they used to have some festival booths during food and wine in that building. I forget what it's called over there by the UK. They would have a thing in there. And so the first year they did it, it was ice cold. You'd go in there and be like, oh, this feels great. And then the next year, it was noticeably like warmer and multiple times. The first time it happened, we were like, oh, maybe it's just the AC wasn't quite working. But it was like, and ever since then, that was the case there where you'd walk in there and it's kind of that borderline of you're not really comfortable. And I theorize it's probably a money saving feature or they don't want people lingering. building too much.
This is a good point, Chris A426. This hotel isn't owned by Disney, so they aren't the ones responsible for maintenance. Is that true, gentlemen? Because I would not know.
Probably.
It's
and then we have this comment to go with it. Go and Shogi. Michael Mina runs a tight ship. He's a top tier chef who's very heavily involved in his restaurants. That's very true. I can imagine this was a cook error. So what do you guys think about these comments?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, if it didn't actually emanate with the AC itself, which again, I mean, they're saying a lot of people have been testifying that it's a kitchen fire right there. If in fact that is indeed the case, I would say probably a cook-related incident or some kind or some haphazard thing that actually happens. Yes, it is true that these resort hotels, they sit on Disney property, but they're like Disney property adjacent and all of that, and Disney contributed to its design, or it's a little bit complicated in its structure right there. But I think the point still stands that you do have aging infrastructure, whether it's Walt Disney World owned or not, and so it's kind of like when you have an aging property. Well, what do? You the maintenance kind of takes a dive, which is kind of similar to what actually is happening in Vegas currently, right? With a lot of its resort hotels, in which they're just not maintaining them to the degree that they should be, because of one reason or another. So there you go.
Yep. Well, what is the setup with those? I'm trying to remember on this because Eisner negotiated the Dolphin and the Swan. Isn't it?
Yes, with U.S. Steel, I believe.
Yeah, isn't it written in there that these eventually revert back to Disney after a period of time? Or am I wrong on that? I thought I remember reading that like after like 100 years or something, it would revert back to Disney owned.
That's an interesting idea. I have to look at that a little bit because from what I recall, like U.S. Steel, like these helped kind of like fund Epcot in a way, if I'm not mistaken, right there. They contributed to its construction. So I got to look at that because it's a weird history and relationship here that is not in my closest frame of reference right now. Jared, I'm sure he's looking at his phone. He's looking at he wants to know.
See what AI tells me and see if they can figure it. Because I remember I dove into this like 3 years ago, but I've slept since then and I've had more kids since then. So I could be wrong, but I thought I remember reading that where it was like Eisner, like the way in which they even negotiated the way that these hotels look. It was very like bulldogish of Eisner, of the way that he was able to actually get this to happen. And I think they weren't. The end result was Eisner got what he wanted, and the hotel chain kind of felt like they got shafted on it. But
we're so in sync that we clicked it at the same time twice, Vash.
Oh,
the Nicole Williams, because I wanted to highlight her comment that she wants to go to the Swan one day. It's a great hotel. It's a great value. We've stayed here many times. We enjoy the water taxis to the parks. They just refurbished. I think it's either... I forget which one was recently refurbished, but the rooms are great and you will enjoy your stay and you get all the perks just like any other Disney World resort. I have no complaints about this at all.
My only complaint about these hotels, because they are convention hotels, is the sheer amount of people walking around talking on speakerphone. I don't know what it is about convention and people that go to business conventions, but they're just like they're just having conversations just out in the open walking around. I don't understand it. It happens constantly. We stay here.
Well, you know, there's a lot of businesses in the area and they book all of these. That's another cash cow for Disney. The resorts, some of them have these meeting rooms that are really, really spacious. So these businesses, they book the venues and they hold their how do you call this? Like, whatever kind of conference.
Yeah.
Or what, it's very, very, very typical, especially like Coronado, the Swan and Dolphin, and then you have the Contemporary. The Contemporary, those are a little bit more expensive to book, but Coronado Springs and Swan and Dolphin are usually like the main target for businesses that need to hold a conference, etc., and big events like the cheer groups, all kinds. But the cheerleading groups and the other groups like that, they usually stay at the all-star resort hotels. They don't really stay at these resorts because the rooms are. Right. It just doesn't work out price-wise and for the capacity of the group.
And there was a Dolphin pool area is probably maybe the best one on property. It's actually really, really nice.
Which pool? Sorry.
The Swan and Dolphin pool that they
Oh,
share.
it's excellent with
You can order
slides.
from your chair. Yeah, it's actually a huge pool complex.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. By the
you
way,
could even like rent a cabana for the day if you wanted to. It's really nice.
So I looked it up. So it says that this is true. It says Disney doesn't own the Swan and Dolphin buildings. The deal dates back to the late 80s. It says they were given a 99-year lease on the land, owns the buildings themselves, and Disney also receives a share of the hotel's revenues. So apparently it says that means that the reversion isn't imminent. A 99-year lease from the late 80s runs out roughly in 2087, 2089.
Right, so it's the land. And you got to think that, they would probably sell the property itself because of that. Right. Or, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, that is a very interesting little update right there for sure. Look, there was a big move in the 1990s to make Walt Disney World not the vacation kingdom, but the convention kingdom. Yeah. And this was definitely part of that strategy. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's... They're interesting hotels. I don't mind these hotels. I've actually done the food and wine festival they have here one time. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of nice. Like the food is really good and stuff like that. So it's a cool area. I just don't like the rooms here that much, which is probably not a great thing for a hotel. Everything else around it I really like. It's just the rooms are a little dated. And they
are dated. Yeah, I think they just went under refurbishment. Which one was it? I can't remember.
I think the Swan, but I always refer to them as when our kids were real little. We always called them the murder balconies, where you just walk out there and they're just right there, but there's always a gap there.
It's true.
Terrified that our kids, because our son used to drop stuff off, like when we were up high, he would drop toys off of it and stuff like that. But it was always
the drop off.
Yeah, just
not the drop off. Nemo, no. Yeah, but Nemo, those they have to get these back. They have to bring them up to code. Especially if they were built in the 70s or the 80s, I would think.
Yeah, I think they recently redid the ones on the Dolphin Swan.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
I think it was a Swan side. They kind of.
I don't know. There's something good about that fresh 70s carpet that I like. It's fine. I don't care.
Grandma's house.
Grandma's house.
Oh boy. Well, Swan, Dolphin. There you go. I think these resort hotels are very interesting. They're certainly interesting looking, especially when you see them in person. It's like, whoa, that is really eye-catching, eye-popping. I don't know if all for the right reasons, because like you said, Jared, the datedness factor and everything else, but I think they're very, very impressive and definitely highlighted Eisner's foray into architecture, which was very interesting, and using the Walt Disney Company towards those ends. Very, very cool. And we're hoping that, Bourbon Steakhouse actually opens up very soon in the near future right there. I know, the successor to Shula's was seen with great anticipation. And MJ can attest to that being a phenomenal little restaurant right there. So we're all hoping, but we got some breaking news, actually. Well, breaking for today. We got to talk about this next story here right now. Walt Disney World News today: Jurassic World Velocicoaster reportedly hit by lightning. Delayed opening at Universal Islands of Adventure. This by Alice Kennedy right here, July 1st, 2026. The Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure is delayed in opening today, July 1st. Maybe related to a reported direct lightning strike yesterday. That's no good. Guests wanting to ride the Velocicoaster Universal Islands of Adventure will have to wait just a bit, as the ride is delayed in opening today. As of the time of this writing, the ride is still not in operation. This may be due to the ride being hit by lightning during the storms yesterday, though we are not sure, as of right now, if that is necessarily the case. Now, obviously, this is, seen as one of the best coasters in Florida, if not the world, right there. Intamin classic right at the gate right there. 70 miles per hour, 2.4 seconds. You got to be 51 inches. But boy, oh boy, is this the ride of a lifetime. Jared, I don't remember a coaster actually being delayed in opening or being affected by lightning. Now, obviously, these attractions do go down in the event of a lightning strike. There's no question. But actually being struck by lightning and not actually opening, not quite heard of such a case, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of sorts here.
I don't recall that happening. I'm sure it's probably happened. I would imagine over the years. This one thing I always point to as well. Lightning in Florida is different. It is very intense. And whenever you do say, I know you'll see people that will complain, oh, it's down for lightning. I'm like, yeah, the first time you find yourself in a storm and you see the lightning around you, you get it. This is why they shut this stuff down when there's lightning in the area, because all it takes is one hit. Just imagine if it was open and lightning struck it or something like that. So it is a very real thing, along with hurricanes in Florida. You don't want to necessarily just poo poo lightning, because it definitely is a real thing down here.
You're seeing a B-roll package that I originally put together for the lightning strike that affected the Wizarding World. I believe it was last year, right in the queue, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
That was a pretty wild scene of events right here. Let me see if I can skip to it. Yeah, you can see right there the flames and the aftermath, and again, Velocicoaster not too far from the Wizarding World out there at Islands of Adventure. So it is, like you said, it definitely hits different over there in Florida. And some of that, I mean, it's so interesting, because one of the things that I really noticed between weather differences from Arizona to Florida, obviously much more humid, there's no question about that, but the clouds are denser and thicker over there. It's just absolutely extraordinary, the depth that you actually get with those clouds. Some amazing sunsets, but obviously hold a lot of moisture, and they hold a lot of shock potential.
That is true. Well, like when it rains, I have never been anywhere, excuse me, where I've had to pull over when it's really pouring, because you literally can't see. In Missouri, you would have hard rains, but man, when it does come down and that lightning in there, I've been driving and you just see lightning 360 degrees around you. It gets really intense. So if it hasn't happened before, I'd be kind of surprised.
It is crazy right here. I don't know. I suppose it's an operational reality that you have to contend with, and it kind of sucks when the lightning comes in. MJ, back me up here. The pools shut down at Walt Disney World, and they have to evacuate those, and you have certain operational concerns related to those attractions. I know, when Epic Universe or Islands of Adventure, when they experience rain or weather, the whole park goes down, and it's no good. I don't like that at all. Well, but now we are, given a reason as to why that is.
This is pretty typical here in Florida. I actually sent you another link, because just the other day, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, over a dozen attractions were down at Walt Disney World because of the lightning and the storms. It's hurricane season, folks.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting right there. Over 24 attractions currently down at Walt Disney World. This June 30th, 2026 right here. Over 24 attractions, both indoor and outdoor, currently closed at Walt Disney World. At the time of this writing, 32 attractions were closed. Huge outage right here. Massive stuff. Astro Orbiter, Barnstormer, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, It's a Small World, Jungle Cruise, The Magic Carpets of Aladdin, Pirates of the Caribbean, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Space Mountain, Swiss Family Treehouse, which is very interesting, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Tomorrowland Speedway, Tomorrowland Transit Authority, People Mover Tron, Let's Take a Run, and the Walt Disney World Railroad, all down at least at Magic Kingdom. That is significant.
What was right there? I think the shorter list would be what was actually open during all this.
Yeah, let's see. The Mercantile. No, I think that just recently closed. Actually, no. The shops on Main Street. That right there. So it's always open.
Well, there's been issues. My wife, she was at Epcot with my daughter a couple months ago, and I think this happened multiple times where, whether it's an internet issue or power or something, but a dozen, or not maybe a dozen, but 5 or 6 rides will go down. She was saying that, I think the one day it was Nemo and all these rides were all down, and you only had a handful of things open. So it's been an ongoing thing. Now, I have no clue if that's anything to do with maintenance. It could be weather related, but it's not something that we haven't seen around Disney World property the last few years.
Yeah,
I really think that it has a lot to do with the weather, especially around this time of year. I mean, these storms come and go. So I highly recommend anyone that's planning a trip, or if they're on vacation and they're already here, double check the weather and, plan accordingly. And, I'm sure the water parks get affected too. As soon as lightning comes in the area, they tell everyone to get out of the water. Have a plan B, because you don't want your day to get ruined. Have a plan B. I think some of these resorts have, if you have to go, let's say you have to get back to your hotel because there's nothing else better to do. I think they actually have complimentary games that you can get at the desk and take them back to the room and have some game time with your family, or take advantage of other things that are not, attractions, maybe like indoor shows or entertainment. They usually are pretty good with that when the rides go down. Back me up, gentlemen. I could be wrong.
They usually are. Yeah, they'll have. I know a couple of the hotels have like dedicated rooms where kids can go color and do crafts and stuff like that, which we've done before. Like I know the Riviera has it because we were staying there and it was just a monsoon and they had a bunch of stuff for the kids to do. And even Universal, we were there riding out a hurricane a couple of years ago and they had like characters and stuff. So like they usually do stuff whenever there is inclement weather like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to Florida, if you're going in the summer, it is going to rain every single day. Like right now, it's bright and sunny. This could change in 10 minutes. And
I just had a lightning storm outside, not even 20 minutes ago. It was like thunderclapping, and now it's bright and sunny.
Yeah.
It just comes and goes in fluctuations. Freedom Seeker says, we just left back to the hotel every day from 4 to 6. Yeah, I mean, you just have to plan accordingly, have a backup plan, and there's other things to do around the resort that you can take advantage of should you not be able to do any rides or be outside or at a water park if you have to get back. I'm going to actually try to post some things on Instagram revolving that because we are in hurricane season and this will be going on until the end of October, literally. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you're willing to ride it out, if it's going to be a quick storm that comes through, a lot of people will leave. If you're willing to ride it out, you do have a pretty good window when things do, if it's not too late, if they reopen the rides up and things, you typically have some lower wait times for a bit after a rainstorm. So if you are willing to sort of ride that out in the park, sometimes it can pay off because most people, you'll just see a mass exodus whenever it really starts coming down.
Very true. And you are able to get back in and out of the park for those that are not familiar. Once you get your ticket, you are welcome to go in and out as you please from park opening to park closing. So just plan accordingly and bring some ponchos.
That is
bring some ponchos. Hey,
yeah, lots of ponchos.
Definitely something that should be part of the travel kit when going to Walt Disney World, especially during the summer right there. Boy, oh boy, when it rains, it pours. And for the Walt Disney Company, it might be pouring on their business, according, as it relates to males being interested in their various franchises and brands. Jared, I want to go ahead and bring this up. One last story for you before we got to get on out of here and get on over to The Dish with Ron, because I thought this was really, really funny. This is really something. Okay. I don't know the authenticity of this. Obviously, it's comicbook.news right there. So, take it as you will. I have heard rumors regarding this whole thing, but there seem to be more to it, at least in comicbook.news' perspective. This is their exclusive by Matt McGloin right here. Disney targets Lionsgate to win back males and families. July 1st, 2026 right here. Following our exclusive that Disney is eyeing Lionsgate as it prepares for the coming Paramount Warner Brothers war, insiders have now added more context. The strategy is pretty obvious. This is not about Disney being broke. Disney is still Disney. The studio is still doing massive business at the box office, recently becoming the first studio of 2026 to cross the $3 billion worldwide mark. The problem is not the company. The problem is the damage it's done to its brands that Disney used to be able to count on without even thinking about it. I'm told that the thinking around Lionsgate is tied directly to the issue. Disney needs to win back the audience. Marvel, Lucasfilm, and Pixar have all lost, especially males and families. Quote, Disney is still doing a very good business with $3 billion in the global box office, insiders tell me, but their brands like Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar have all taken a hit, losing as much as 75% of the audience, which is troubling and needs to be addressed, end quote. And that's where Lionsgate comes in.
I had never heard that. Not 75%. That makes sense. I don't doubt that.
Well, when you have, the Avengers franchise, right? And it's, the Marvel MCU, and a lot of those films just come out and they bomb at the box office. I mean, look at Mandalorian and Grogu. That thing has just recently made it past the $300 million mark. It's bound to lose at least $100 million at the box office, if not more. It's just, they've had some serious problems here. But Lionsgate, in order to shore this up, Jared, I remember back in the day, Bob Iger going, hey, you know what? We have the Princess brands, and it's phenomenal. It's awesome. It's absolutely outrageous. It's so good. But we need young boys, and we just don't have brands to do that, so let's go ahead and get Marvel and Star Wars, get them both in, and we'll be just fine. And then what they do, Jared, They said, let's make them into female appealing brands. And it's like, guys, how are we back to square one with some of the most iconic franchises in the world?
Listen, I'm looking forward to John Wick takes on the patriarchy, okay? I think that's going to be a very great movie. He's going to go deal with all these misogynists. You know, I love the John Wick franchise. It's crazy, it's goofy, but I think it's great. But like,
love it.
You're right. We've seen this before. Like they've tried. The whole reason they bought Star Wars was for this and Marvel. And then what they do within 10 years, like I said, 75% of the audience is gone, and it's all, you know, changing all this. We got to get women involved, which again, I'm not against women being involved in things, but you already have like, it's like taking Barbie and being like, we need to get men in here. It's like, why? Like there's already stuff for men. Like, not everything is for everybody. And so if they are looking at this, I mean, until the behavior changes, it's like having a family member that is like a drug addict, which I have experience with because my family is interesting, but it's like you can hope for the best, but until you actually see behavioral change, that you're just going to be like the same thing's going to happen again. So unless they get this and they actually don't end up ruining it, I'm going to assume they're just going to do what they always do. Even stuff like The Incredibles, like Incredibles 2. What was that movie about mostly? Oh, the dad is kind of just a ho-hum dude. The woman takes the charge. Like we've seen, even Toy Story 5, we've seen the same tropes in that movie, which I did enjoy for the most part, but it definitely had parts where Buzz is taking a back seat and Woody and all these things. So it's like, it's a very common trend with Disney that I don't think is necessarily going to change just because they go by Lionsgate, or if they do decide to go by Lionsgate.
Well, I think all of these franchises, with the exception of maybe like Star Wars, right? Where it's just like one dude bro. You had a bunch of dude bros getting together and saying, hey, let's go ahead and create something, right? When it comes to the original Marvel comic books, or even the Pixar, right? The Brain Trust, that's a bunch of dude bros getting together and saying, hey, let's go ahead and knock this thing out of the park, and we'll appeal to everybody from 7 to 70 kind of thing. And Indiana Jones, right? A bunch of dude bros getting together and saying, hey, let's go ahead and let's do our own take on James Bond, but put him in the 1930s as an archaeologist and go. What are they going to do with John Wick? What are they going to do with, some of these very male-oriented franchises? I could definitely see them, just like the other franchises in which they've messed with. It's like, oh, Jared, though, we want to go ahead and expand that to a broader audience, right? Yep. And you could be lulled into this false sense of, oh, yeah, sure, it makes sense, right? Let's take a brand and take an established audience and make it bigger by appealing to the other side. And then you learn, oh, wait, it didn't appeal to that side, but who it didn't really appeal to was the established audience. Oh, no, not good. Now you're here.
Yep. Well, it's this whole idea that, like, you're going to set, like, you want to go decide to get this other audience, and you're just assuming that this existing audience is always going to stick around. And I think that is their thinking here of like, oh, we'll do this and change it, and they'll always be there. And then when that falls off, and then I've always felt whatever this audience they're chasing after isn't nearly as big as they all thought it was. Now, my theory on why that is, I think what really started this trend was Twitter. I think a lot of these consulting firms would go to Twitter and point to Twitter and be like, look at the trends we're seeing here. And then it's been very different since Elon's bought it. And I've always said, like, the internet and Twitter is not real life. And I think a lot of them got duped into thinking that there was this huge audience. This was the way forward. And then now we're down this path 10 years later. And it's like, oh, oops. What do we, now you're in this weird spot. And, maybe they would buy this and maybe they wouldn't ruin it. But again, until they prove they won't. I mean, they also have Saw, The Expendables, the Twilight Saga, Hunger Games. I mean, I guess Hunger Games fits into what they would probably do anyways. But I mean, yeah, John Wick. I'm just like, what are you going to do with John Wick?
Not good things.
John Wick 4, and like I said, I like those movies, but they're getting kind of crazy in terms of the way those movies have already been going. But yeah, oh, geez, I don't think I would not be rooting for that at all. Personally speaking,
I just find it hilarious how they shelled out tens of billions of dollars to get their hands on some of these franchises that either appeal to men broadly or appeal to the general audience, right? And it's like, like 3 and you're out kind of thing, right? I mean,
Right.
it's like,
It's like
what
the
are you
Grim Reaper
doing?
meme where he goes door to door with the, and he's like
Yes.
now he's knocking on John Wick's door, and you're like, oh no.
Oh no, it's not good. It's the Grim Reaper meme with mouse ears, and I don't know if that's good for anybody, but we'll see. I know there are a couple of suitors eyeballing Lionsgate as it currently exists right now, as everybody tries to consolidate and get the most robust IP package as possible.
They say they were looking to buy that for $3 million. Is that what or $3 billion? Is that what they said?
Yes, I do believe. Yeah, $3 billion.
That's
is
wild.
what they're looking at.
They paid what would at its peak? What would Star Wars go with today's money with inflation? If Star Wars was where it was and they bought it previously, I would imagine it'd be almost $10 billion to buy Star Wars.
Right. Oh, sorry. $3 billion. That would be their financial performance so far in 2026. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. What's the market capitalization of Lionsgate?
I'm just curious what that even, because they already spent they spent a couple of billion to invest in Epic Games.
Yeah, 4.5.
Interesting.
Is what the market cap is for Lionsgate right now. So it's around that. It's around that.
Yeah.
That number that they like. They like the fours.
Yeah, and I don't think they'd have any regulation issues if they tried to buy it. More than likely.
For a studio that size, not likely. Probably.
Yeah.
Right. So, and especially if it's just an IP grab, which I think it would be.
Right.
So, very, very interesting stuff indeed, right there. But that's what's going on in the House of Mouse currently, trying to keep you, update on what is going on out there. Somebody else trying to keep you update on what's going on out there, at least in terms of theme park news, is Capture the Magic. He does a phenomenal job with doling out so much content to his subscribers. Please, Jared, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, we mostly do daily videos over there, talking very similar to Vash, theme parks, entertainment stuff, a little bit here and there. We were doing a lot of WB coverage during that whole thing as well. And then, of course, we have theme parking on Tuesday evenings with Vash and Orange Grove 55 over there, and they simulcast that on their channels as well. But just, give my opinion on things, try and keep it light and fun, talk about theme parks. But yeah, trying to stay up to date because we live pretty close. We go to the parks about once a month at least, so always up to date on what's going on there. But then if you do want, if you're going to go to Disney World, Universal Studios, you want some actual hey, how to have a good trip, how to get the most out of your trip, you can check out the Capture Magic podcast with my wife and I. And we go through all that stuff there. So we kind of got both ends of the spectrum there. But that's where you can find me, as well as Captain Magic is the same on YouTube and social media handles as well.
Mm-hmm. And all of the various links to Jared, Capture the Magic right there, his X and his YouTube link are, I know especially, are available in the description of this video and every single video going forward right there. So you can find them there, and Go and Shogi's got you covered as well. Thank you, Go and Shogi. Very much appreciate that. MJ, we got to bring you back because we got to talk about where they can find you. Where can everybody find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
Oh, yeah. I sent you a better link. Not everyone does X, so I'm going to try to create a hub because everyone is pretty much on YouTube nowadays, right? Some people like to stay away from social media platforms, I should say, the toxic ones like TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I kind of created a little hub on my YouTube channel, and I have various links. So that way it's easier for you to find me. I will be posting pretty frequent in the post in the community section of where I will be a guest on and what channels and shows, etc., and some other cool stuff coming in the very near future. And I'm really excited about it. So I think this is the best pointer for the good folks out there, because I understand not everyone does X. I had a few people tell me, well, I don't really like X, and I don't blame you. It can be a little vicious.
Yeah. I think it's filled with wonderful, heartwarming discussion right there. And they're so welcoming and friendly.
Not really, Vash.
So much nuance. There's so much really.
I have an answer for that.
No, don't do that!
Yeah,
Exactly,
that's how some
right
people
there.
feel about X.
That's
So-
when you just say, I'm having a great day today. And they're like, no, you're not. Not now.
No.
But you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
Bring on the trolls because the trolls give us views. So trolls, you are welcome. Subscribe and like and follow and ring the bell.
Yeah, well, there you go, right
You
there.
vicious trolls.
You can go ahead. You can find Magically MJ right there at her YouTube page, as is provided by Gonchoki in the chat right there. I do believe we have your YouTube page featured in the description as well, as long as your X, if you do prefer that trollish platform right there. I think that just about does it for our show today. We just posted our very first video on this channel right here talking about the Comcast split with Jonas J. Campbell. Very cool discussion right there. You're going to learn a lot about the business operations of Comcast, why they might be doing something like this, and what the media landscape is going to look like going forward, and how maybe it affects your favorite theme parks. All that and a whole bunch more there with Jonas. A little under a 20-minute video right there. Should be very digestible for all of you.
Excellent.
Very, very cool. Also, too, definitely check out, Jared and MJ, as I was talking about before, right there. Check out our show tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right there, right before M4 Empire, as Juliet has, Judge Dushing pointed out earlier in the chat right there. That's some good stuff. And also, too, Vash and Vixen this Saturday, July 4th, the patriotic celebration. We're talking about all things Americana over there at the Disney parks. That'll be a lot of fun. But that just about concludes our show right here. We got to get on over to the dish, which, there you go, a little music been playing there. And I want to go ahead and thank each and every one of you. Over 9,000. Let's get to the Big 10. I think that'd be really, really cool. And until next time, remember, folks, the sky is the limit. Thank you all.